Dag Koi Wijzer kijkers, hier live van Appeltern. Jullie zien het dan niet meer live als dit straks gemonteerd is, maar dacht ik zeg het er even bij. Want wij staan er wel op de laatste dag, de zondag. Het is droog, het is prima, meer dan een prima show. Ik moet het niet bagatelliseren, want het is vooral een hele mooie show. Er schijnt gisteren duizenden mensen hier geweest te zijn. Nou, ik ben er voor het eerst vandaag. En de kooi zijn mooi, de stands zijn gevuld en de mensen hebben er naar hun zin. En wij zijn nu in de stand van Rob Heijmans, Fish Pharma, met van alles en nog wat jullie weer missen natuurlijk als je hier niet bent. En die er wel zijn, die liepen hier net al met kruiwagens met Koi Prevention de deur uit. Maar wij komen hier een judge tegen, James Rothwell, from New York. En die is niet alleen maar een jurylid, ZNA. Die brengt ook een blad uit. Net zoals Koi Wijzer dat uitbrengt. En Rob die had het idee van laten we eens even die twee continenten vergelijken met elkaar. Wat doen zij op het gebied van blad, zeg maar. En hoe doen wij dat? En hoe staan de Amerikanen eigenlijk in de hobby? Want als je aan New York denkt, dan denk je aan heel veel verkeer en skyscrapers. En ik zie nergens vijvers daar in beeld. Sorry for the long introduction, James.
Yes.
Maybe you could introduce yourself to our watchers.
So to everybody out there, my name is James Rothwell. I'm a koi hobbyist, enthusiast, love it. Also a koi judge for ZNA, and I feel like I'm hawking something.
Yeah, got it.
But again, I've got my also the owner and editor of Koi. It's the only koi magazine in the United States that gets delivered. That's printed.
How often does that go out?
We do it 4 times a year.
Okay.
We tried to get it to like 6 times a year, bi-monthly, but it just became too
4
difficult.
times is enough.
Yes.
Same here.
Yes.
We do the same.
So,
but in my long introduction, I was just stating, you're from New York. All we know New York is skyscraper, Statue of Liberty, a lot of traffic and stuff. But we've never seen a koi pond in New York. Do people have that?
Oh, we have many koi ponds, and the one good thing is I'm in New York. But if you think of New York and where the Statue of Liberty is, if you just keep going east, that's Long Island.
Okay.
So we are on the North Shore of Long Island.
Right.
So we have some of the best water. So we have high electric bills, but we've got great water. So our water comes in at around 7.2 pH. We have no chloramines in the water, very little chloramine in it. I mean chlorines.
Yeah.
So
do you know what the TDS is?
The TDS is 90.
90?
90.
Wow! Yes. En bij ons uit de kraan in Tilburg 180. En hier de TDS 90. Dus that's really great.
Yeah, that's one wonderful thing. Yeah, I still use the big blue filter to still take out whatever I can get out. Especially if there's chlorine in. I do kind of refill the pond on auto refill, so it's constantly trickle in, trickle out.
Okay.
So I definitely still want to keep an eye on that, but the parameters haven't changed in a decade. So.
Okay. and on the average, how large are the American koi ponds?
Good question. I would say on average probably around 5,000 gallons, but there are quite a few. When you really get to koi enthusiasts, they're around 10 to 15,000 gallons. I know here you guys talk tons of liters.
Is that times 4 or what is that? Do you know that? You went to school.
I went to school, but I also use Google Translate and the calculator to get the right amount.
The right amount. All right. But you know, we have our most influence, the most. What do I want to say? You have the most influence in the koi world if it's all about medication and being the koi vet that we have. We have more in Holland and in Belgium. It's not unusual to have a koi vet. There are not many, but we have them. And how's that in the States?
So in the States, we have very small amount of koi vets and very small amount that really know what they're doing. Unfortunately, a lot of hobbyists will know more. So that's why it was really interesting for me to come in and meet Rob and speak to him, because it's something as a hobbyist I don't usually have a chance to. Okay. You know, if I'm forced to do something with my koi, it's from other hobbyists. They're learning what they've done before and hoping that it works. Okay. So it's kind of nice to kind of get an expert opinion on things, and yeah.
Have you ever been asked to go to the States to work on a koi?
Not yet, but maybe this will be the first time. As a result of this video, we make to introduce ourselves, to introduce our collaboration together, and I think that's the most important thing. What the show does is bringing people together with the same passion for the hobby, and to understand each other's problems also with the fish, and that's what we see all over Europe, but that's for me also interesting to see how does it work in America. I mean, the first book I bought, or had as a gift from a dealer when I started as a student, was from Doc Johnson. That was for the time 25 years ago, almost 25 years ago, that was for me the Bible to learn about how do I take care of a koi. I mean, there were some books that told about how do you have to take care about a fish or fish diseases. I mean, the book from Noga about fish disease was the major book which we use in aquaculture. Yeah. But especially in pet fish, there was almost nothing. And in that time, Doc Johnson was the first one who came with medications which were very modern and totally different than what we use also in the normal pets.
And is Mr. Johnson still
yeah, so as a matter of fact, he kind of decided to kind of go low profile for a few years, and he's actually just reintroduced that book that you read and kind of, updated it a little bit.
He's still practicing.
He's still practicing, and I think he's expanding. I know he's just redid the book on fish, and now I believe he's doing it on birds.
On birds.
And then I think there's another one to follow, but I'm not sure what that is.
Something that comes to mind right now is where I was with you en route with him, seeing what he was doing and helping out. We were somewhere in Germany getting liquid out of the swimming bladder of a koi that's been, submerged. I mean, at the bottom of the pond, not able to swim anymore. And I remember that Kataro Sakai sent me a DM. Does this work? With the thing that you were doing? Yeah. But if you have something like that in the States, do you have a doctor that could?
We do not.
Empty a swim bladder, then it's just gone. Go away with koi. Get rid of it.
Right. We try probably what I'll call snake oil, and try a few different things that we think might work. But I mean, even now, I couldn't, with all my years in the business, in the hobby, I couldn't really tell you what is really causing swim bladder. I've heard, is it an infection? Is it the depth of the pond? Is it, I mean, I'm not sure, and that's one of the problems we have in the U.S. And so now we just have, yeah.
I think that's a good question you have, and that's also one of the questions we still have, because we did some research on the swim bladder, how the swim bladder develops, how much volume is in, how much pressure is in the swim bladder, and we found a good formula to understand how big the fish is and how much volume is in the swim bladder. But we still have the problem: how does it occur? Because we see there are some cases where we see on the X-rays that there's a backbone problem, and this backbone problem gives problem with the nerves who innervate the swim bladder and the ductus pneumaticus. So we know that if there's a backbone problem with the vertebrae, there can be a problem to the swim bladder. There's fluid coming in. When the fish goes down, the ductus pneumaticus is not closing enough, and the water is coming into the swim bladder. But in a lot of cases, there's no problem with the back. There's just this problem with fluid in swim bladder. So we found out in some cases the pressure the fish get, and especially the pressure, how do you call the luchtdruk?
The air pressure.
The air pressure. We see this sometimes coming after transport, and sometimes air transport, but also sometimes when people transport the fish from the dealer to the owner's place. At the dealer, I've seen the videos, the fish was swimming perfect, and at the owner's place, directly after introducing the pond, there was already a problem. So something went on or went wrong during the transport.
It's interesting you say that, because I literally have a friend about 2 weeks ago, exactly that problem, who the dealer had kept the fish for about 2 years, and he finally picked it up, and he's had no problems. He brought it into his pond, and the next day he's like, I think it has swim bladder problem. It was kind of hanging down on the bottom, and it hasn't rectified itself yet. And so now you have a dealer going, I've kept the fish, I've done all the right things. It didn't leave here. What happened? And it wasn't like it went in an airplane. I mean, it was driven about 4 or 5 hours and then thrown into the pond. What happened in that short time to make that happen?
Wait a minute, just another question that pops up in mind for people that are watching here in Europe. We're driving 4 or 5 hours, you said. how do they do that? They transport just fill a bag with the oxygen, close it, and then put it in the car and go?
Yeah, well, somebody like me, I get a little bit crazy. So some people use our transport tanks. We'll put the water in and get it up to the top and make sure it's all right. Then some people prefer to bag and box their fish with the oxygen. I do both. Okay. I get really kind of crazy because with my bigger fish, I get nervous about them being in the transport tank. Okay. For any length of time, and then when I do put them in a transport tank, they're then in a van where I can control the temperature versus on the back of a pickup. We have lots of pickup trucks in the U.S.
But the reason I'm asking is because we have a lot of Dutch hobbyists that go to a koi dealer, buy a koi, and then get really nervous. Yeah, but I got to take them home, and I'll be driving for about 45 minutes. Is that okay? You just said 4 or 5 hours.
Yes, yes.
You're up in top of the Netherlands to the bottom is about, I think, 2.5 hour drive. That's it, max.
Wow.
And so it's always about an hour drive from the koi dealer to home.
Yeah, it can be about that. And then if you're going from our koi shows, on average, I would say from New York to them, they're about 5 to 14 hours. Like we'll drive from
14 hours.
We'll drive from like New York
show.
to North Carolina.
Okay.
Yes.
Woo. All right.
We saw the same with the koi shows also, and it was before in Arsen when we had people from Czechia coming, from Italy coming, from south of France coming with koi, putting the fish into the show here, and then showing the fish, taking them back home, and without any problems. I mean, we have so many friends from Sweden and from Denmark here. Yeah. They travel 8-12 hours with the fish. They pick them up tonight and bring them home, and in the most cases, nothing goes wrong. So the big question, if you go back to the swimmer, why does it happen? We have some answers, but I think we still don't have the correct answers, because maybe it's a multifactorial problem. But the question is, how do you work with the koi? But that's, I think, the most important question. What you have to ask yourself when you're dealing with koi: how do I prepare everything? And I think that's similar in the UK, in America or UK or in the Middle East or wherever you go. Koi.
I'm looking behind you and I'm thinking these are things they're not doing in the States, like taking out a tumor or doing a stomach operation, or that's way over the top. You're not doing that.
We're not doing that.
Not yet.
I always feel like you guys are about a decade ahead of us in filtration, in the science of it, in some of the knowledge. The way that we build ponds. We're just starting to build ponds like Europeans now.
Well, I'd say, because we don't have the knowledge. He has a lot of this knowledge. Instead of you're a judge, and the NVN brought you guys over to judge. I'd say bring over the doc to one of the shows you guys are having.
We would love to have you come to the U.S. and we'd love to have you with all the ZNA clubs together and maybe do some talks, and because maybe we can even get some other vets there you can maybe educate, because there is a serious lack of knowledge from the vet side in the U.S.
But we are doing something somewhere in the upcoming months. If people at home in the United States would hook up to our YouTube channel, Koi Wijzer TV, that's this right here. He's going to be doing some workshops, and we're going to be translating that in English, but you all know that in YouTube you could do the subtitling. Yes. It's not always 100%, but we're going to translate it.
Yes, we do a couple of times a year. We do seminars and workshops for the koi hobbyists. We do it at the dealer's place, and the reason why we do it nowadays in the dealer's place, because at home at the clinic I can show them some very urgent cases if I have the cases at my place. But sometimes at the dealer you can easily show, okay, but if you have this type of system, or the client asks something about the system and we don't understand directly what it means, we can show to the other hobbyists, okay, he has this type of system, this system works like this way, and this is good and this is bad in the system. Okay, so if it's going wrong in the system, this will go wrong, we can show directly, because the dealer has one of the systems over there. And I don't think there's a perfect system. A lot of systems work, a lot of way of filtrations work. I mean, I've seen in Japan a trickle towel with only Coke buckets, and it was still working. So
Yeah, it's funny
you
you
have to
say.
understand how the environment works with the fish. Then you can find different ways to get to the right position where you want to be.
What I love about that is, and I completely agree, one system isn't necessarily right, and it could work great for you, and then it won't work for me because my fish load might be different, or where the pond's situated, or the water system, or and I think the hardest part we have from the medical side of it is then how do we treat? You know, because if the pH is different, or the water chemistry is different, or what's really going on in the pond, it's so hard to kind of, it's such a moving target that it makes it difficult, and it makes it harder that we're just relying on somebody else's bio system or whatever they have, that, you know, in their pond, and then we're trying to get their information and hope that it'll work for our fish.
And another question for the hobbyist: do the most American hobbyists have a microscope and check things out? Like
A lot of them don't.
A lot of them don't.
I don't, and we recommend it. And it's funny. At one point, I'll hear a lot of Americans sometimes say, "Oh, in Europe, they're having so many problems with fluke. Every time they've got fluke." Well, they have more fluke because they check more.
Oh yeah.
We think we don't have fluke because we don't look at a microscope and find the fluke.
That's a good one.
You know, so even though it's still there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, how long are you staying? This is your last day?
I'm going to be here till Tuesday.
Till Tuesday.
And then
you want to check out something of the Netherlands, or?
Love to check out. If you guys have any suggestions?
We do.
Yes.
Of course.
Amsterdam, of course.
No more windmills. No.
The window shopping.
Yes.
Of course. Okay. So you're waiting for the first invitation for a workshop?
Yes. It would be a great plan if you can do
I'll
that.
take my camera if they need me. So,
Okay, great.
Thank you, James.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you
Yes.
both very, very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dag allemaal.
Bye-bye.
Bye.